Ladies and gentlemen, welcome your faces to a brand new video today. I hope you're having a fantastic day. We're doing a top 20 most expensive games ever made today. We're going to do a reaction to that and see what is the top 20. I've heard rumours of certain games costing this much, but this list is going to clarify all of it. What is the most expensive game of all time? So if you do enjoy this video, make sure you leave a like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and that lets me know that you want to see more reaction videos uploaded on the channel. So enough of me rambling, let's jump into the video, and I really am intrigued to see what is the most expensive game of all time. Right, here we go.
Number 20, Red Dead Redemption.
Okay. Red Dead 2, that was a pretty big game.
This open-world western is a game that was absolutely worth the hefty price tag. Selling around 15 million copies, Rockstar
15 million? I didn't realize it sold that much.
$80 to $100 million budget and created one of the best games ever in the process. They used every second of the 5-year development cycle to craft a beautifully diverse world full
It's
of
such a fantastic game, Red Dead.
And plenty of Wild West machismo, which would only be topped by its sequel almost a decade later.
Well, I'm sure you and your fine friends
Red Dead 1 was so good. I think they did a remake of it as well, so I definitely would love for that to happen.
Number 19, Genshin Impact.
Oh, Paimon's so jealous. Why doesn't Paimon get cool fighting powers?
I never played this game, but I've heard of it.
When this game was first revealed back in 2019, it suffered a lot of backlash due to its various similarities with Breath of the Wild. And with an incredibly high budget of $100 million, it was going to need to do something big to break out of that bad stigma. Luckily, for the developers at MiHoYo, Genshin Impact has been an astronomical success, with its gacha system grossing over $1 billion by the end of March 2021.
$1 billion.
This has made it one of the highest grossing mobile games of all time, and it has shown no signs of slowing down.
With Jean on our side, surely even the vicious Storm Terror will be no match for us.
Number 18, Tomb Raider.
Yes, Sam. I need you to keep this.
I'm intrigued as to how much this was cost. I know this game came out, it did really well.
Square Enix had an ambitious list of targets for their $100 million reboot of gaming's favorite British adventurer. Sell 6 million units in a month, be profitable in the same period, and achieve hugely positive critical reaction. No pressure for developers Crystal Dynamics then. Praise was heaped upon its graphical detail and narrative depth from the outset, but it took a while before their own criteria were satisfied.
Okay.
Selling 3.4 million copies in a month was impressive, but it took 8 months after release for them to finally reach profitability. Lara's new, untested look eventually led to sales of 11 million, the best ever for an IP that many thought was best left in the annals of gaming history.
It's like, I remember when Tomb Raider came out, like there was rumours of it. Some people were a bit iffy about it. I know some people still a bit iffy about it, like the way she looks now. Like, no, Tomb Raider should look like how she did in like the old PS2 games. But obviously, times have changed, sort of thing. But some people like have that nostalgia of what Lara Croft should be. Some people have this version now, and it's. I know it's a bit. Some people are on the fence about it. Some people are off the fence, and like. Seems like majority of people enjoy it. Obviously, there's still some people, from what I gathered, were not really behind the series that much.
Something tells me the others found an easier way down.
Number 17, Disney Infinity.
Oh, imagine this costing loads.
Containing the potential to cross over Disney, Marvel, and Star Wars properties, a $100 million investment in this Toys-to-Life title.
Kingdom Hearts is definitely going to be up here then, I reckon.
Early on, things were going swimmingly. Reviews were positive, $500 million in revenue had been made, and it was overwhelmingly outselling its main competitor, Skylanders. 2 sequels later, the series was cancelled in a hot mess of corporate interference and gross overestimation of what they could sell. Astonishingly, it was still the top of its genre at the time of cancellation, leading many to theorize that the budget for the sequels must have been even more extortionate than the first game.
I remember it being like a really weird 16, popular thing.
Deadpool.
You can't sing.
Because every time you go somewhere, you would always see them like little figures in games.
Crazy for feeling.
This $100 million beat-em-up featuring the Work with a Mouth lacked the type of gameplay you might expect from such an expensive title. Wade Wilson's typically vulgar, fourth-wall breaking.
I only heard good stuff about Deadpool.
However, even poking fun at the developers and the shortcomings of the game. As much as Deadpool mocks gaming cliches, it doesn't hide the fact that many of those same tropes are present in almost every lifeless level. This all stemmed from a notably tumultuous existence. High Moon Studios employees were fired during development, and the game was pulled from online services after release. Perhaps Deadpool really was in charge all along.
I did not realize people got fired from it.
Number 15. Battlefield 4.
Oh, Battlefield! How much is this?
Released during the Call of Duty franchise's heyday, this iteration of the Battlefield franchise was going to need a lot of money in order to compete. With a budget of around 100 million, the game was praised for its fantastic multiplayer mode. Sadly, its high budget wasn't enough to beat its longtime rival, with only 7 million copies sold compared to Call of Duty Ghost's absolutely insane 19 million.
Well, that's the thing though, COD Ghost was at its peak. That's literally peak days.
Number 14. Max Payne 3.
And what kind of town was this?
I remember when that game
I
came
didn't
out.
speak the language and they didn't
I
really
remember
know
that.
drinks.
No played it though.
Considerable pressure on Rockstar to deliver a game that would not only live up to Remedy's previous 2 third-person shooters, but also be a commercial success. By pumping 105 million into the project that was meant to be released way back in 2009, they ensured the series carried on its exceptionally dark tone, but left themselves needing to sell 4 million copies just to break even. While an aggressive marketing strategy eventually allowed them to hit the mark, Rockstar greatly overestimated the game's sales projections, resulting in a lot of unsold
I
copies.
don't remember that many people buying it though. It is that. So I don't remember many people kind of going, "Oh, I'm really buzzed for this game."
Number 13. APB All Points Bulletin.
Oh, is this? Oh, I think I know this
Early
game.
trailers had this game from UK developers Real-Time Worlds looking like a GTA-esque MMO. The end product, however, barely fulfilled 10% of that promise.
I think it was free to
The
play.
shooting and driving mechanics were blatantly unfinished, leaving players bemused as to where the $105 million budget had gone. They got their answer when, with barely anyone playing their game, Real-Time closed shop 2 months after APB's release, allowing unpaid tech staff the freedom to reveal all. They say the enormous budget made key executives complacent, resulting in a lack of direction during a meandering 5-year development cycle the fledgling company was ill-equipped to deal
Damn,
with.
I wonder where that game went. But once again, like no one was playing
Number
it.
12. Grand Theft Auto 4. If you're wondering how Liberty City came to look like a detail-perfect imagination of New York City, look no further than Rockstar's immensely in-depth $100 million plus production cycle. Researchers based in the Big Apple analyzed the demographics of...
The thing I always had with GTA 4, it looked really dark. It looked like really dirty. Didn't look clean.
Those efforts, in combination with delays and having to pay a 150-strong team, made it the most expensive game ever at the time. An investment Rockstar would immediately recoup by earning $310 million in just 1 day. Apart from the inevitable criticisms of violent content, barely a negative comment has been recorded about a game that defined the open-world market.
That's the thing though, GTA, I remember when that game came out, it was sold out everywhere. You could not get your hands on it for weeks.
Number 11. Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Another Tomb Raider, okay. This is the last one I did. I haven't done one in a long while.
Origin trilogy, Eidos Montreal and Square Enix needed to pull out all of the stops, resulting in an even greater budget than the first game. Estimated at around 110 to 135 million, the game initially suffered from much slower sales compared to its predecessors. Despite this, the game received positive reviews and would go on to ship a healthy...
I know this one was very, very, like... I don't know, this one's always on sale, I find this game.
Number 10. Final Fantasy VII.
Can't be over 100 million on it. I don't know.
The legacy left by this legendary title is still felt by contemporary gamers, but it didn't come cheap. Around 45 million went on development, and 100 million was allocated for marketing an RPG that was one of the first to convincingly penetrate the North American market. Square's move to 3D and the elevation of production values...
Imagine like back then, yeah, it would have cost a lot.
2.3 million copies were sold in just 3 days. Surprisingly, for a game often labeled as the best ever, the developers were forced to leave out several planned elements to meet a tight release date. Those exclusions apparently made no difference to fans, and it went on to sell 12.8 million units.
Damn. Yeah, that's the thing. Imagine like back then, that was a lot.
Dead Space 2. Despite being critically
I'm intrigued
acclaimed,
in how much
the
this
original Dead
costs.
Space was a modest success, selling around 1 million copies worldwide. So it's incredibly surprising
That
that
old
its follow-up
itself.
is one of the most expensive video games of all time, with a sizable $120 million budget. Dead Space 2 would ship around 2 million copies in its first week, and although
2
it initially
million.
had strong sales,
When you look at their
Arts considered the game
numbers
financially disappointing.
compared to say like
Sadly, its
6
developer
million.
Visceral Games would shut down in 2017, following even more poor sales for Dead Space 3.
That's the thing though, they're setting the bar too high because I didn't think
Destiny.
oh mate, Destiny was so good. I don't know why I didn't think of this up
Creators
there.
of one of the most successful video game
Bungie,
franchises
mate.
on the planet, it's absolutely no surprise that Activision pumped as much money as possible into Bungie's first ever game since moving on from Halo. With an estimated total cost of around $140 million, Destiny desperately needed to be a success. Luckily for them, it sold over $325 million in its first 5 days, making it the most successful brand new franchise launch of all time.
Damn!
Not bad for a game that received polarizing reviews at launch.
I could tell you of the great.
There's a lot of reasons to that though. There's a lot of stories like to
Number
why it
7,
did so bad at
Marvel's
launch.
Avengers.
She, be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor.
Indeed.
Quite intrigued to see how much
Considering
this
its movie
costs.
counterparts are some of the highest-grossing films of all time, it's no surprise to anyone that this video game adaptation of Marvel Comics' premier team came with a hefty budget. With a price tag of $170 million and counting, Square Enix fully intends to keep adding more and more money to this live service game. Even with all this money being pumped into it, the game has still yet to turn in a profit, and coupled with a less than stellar reception,
think it will.
things are looking pretty bleak for Earth's mightiest heroes.
From like what they've done to it, it seems like it's not that great. A lot of people you speak to just go, it's a bit of a meh game.
Number
170
6,
million.
Halo 2. Bungie struck gold with the original Halo Combat Evolved, and with an estimated 5 million copies sold, Microsoft
5 million,
knew they
nice.
had a hit on their hands. For the incredibly anticipated sequel, the game received a sizable $120 million budget, making it the most expensive video game ever at the time. Luckily, this gamble paid off, as
Damn.
not only is it considered one of the greatest video games of all time, but it sold at least 6.3 million copies, making it the best-selling game on the original Xbox console.
Guess that wasn't so bad.
Star Wars: The Old Republic.
I never played this game, never played it. But I know it's like it does strike with the Star Wars community very
BioWare had
well.
already proved that they could handle one of the greatest media properties ever when they released Knights of the Old Republic in 2003, and so were trusted with $200 million of EA investments for this subscription-based
200 million.
RPG. They created a game of immense scale and depth. It contained
Well, at
600
this rate, it's going to be
hours
Red
of story
Dead, isn't it?
content,
The
yet
first
still
spot.
faced some criticism for getting muddled between an MMORPG and a Mass Effect style experience. Although it required the move to a free-to-play model to reinvigorate interest in the game, it
Oh,
has been
really? I
regularly
didn't know it went to
expanded,
free-to-play.
and in 2014 was still earning $165 million a year.
Cool, medic.
Number 4, Grand Theft Auto 5.
I thought it was going to be number 2 for some reason.
This
2013,
open-world
mate.
title
Near a
offers
decade old
numerous
this game is.
possibilities, especially if you're running.
And they're
on
still
modern
making
PC,
loads of money out of
so
it now,
was
a
inevitably
decade
going to
on.
leave a sizable hole in Rockstar's pockets. With a reported cost of $265 million, it dwarfed the $100 million budget of its older sibling, and similarly obliterated it
260.
in pretty much every
They've
statistic
made their
you
money
think
back
of.
off that.
Benefiting from release over 2 generations of consoles, 145 million copies have been shipped, and although the free DLC likely eats into their $2 billion revenue, the online mode is a constant money-making machine. Its
Oh, it
numbers
is.
are often compared to that of Hollywood's biggest projects, and rightly so. Its carnage frequently outdoes a blockbuster hit.
Grand Theft Auto 5 has made twice as much as the last Harry Potter movie did in its opening weekend.
Damn.
That film holds the record for the best box office opening ever.
Number 3, Call of Duty Modern
Oh,
Warfare
what
2.
a game. I'm shocked this is up there.
Following the first Modern Warfare title selling 17 million copies, Activision could happily throw money at the sequel without worry of it ever being a failure. The development costs were relatively modest at just 40 to 50 million, but they put a staggering 200 million into marketing this FPS titan around the world. Featuring a
200
refined,
million.
almost flawless online multiplayer and a new Spec Ops
That's
mode,
the thing, everyone
5 million
talks
copies
about
were
it.
sold in a
Model
day,
Warfare 2,
and it
Model Warfare
went
2,
to
Model
pass
Warfare 2.
1 billion in sales in just a few months. The series has grown tired since the Juggernaut's success, but where can it really go when near perfection has already been achieved?
Nowhere. I think it's just, it's going. It's kind of got its fan base now, but even with its fan base.
Cyberpunk 2077.
Ah, I didn't really think about this one. I thought it was maybe like
the
top
hype
5.
was immense for this hotly
top 10?
anticipated CD Projekt Red title, and equally so was
I'm
its
shocked
budget.
Witcher's not up here
With a cost of
actually.
$316 million and a lengthy development time.
360
many were expecting
million.
perfection. When it came to release, despite having a good reception, the game was absolutely riddled with game-breaking bugs and
It was
glitches.
absolutely
None
horrible.
of this would matter though, as the game would go on to sell over 13 million copies worldwide by the end of the year.
Join me for another day in our city of dreams.
Number 1.
Thought
Red
so.
Dead Redemption 2.
Hold up there, mister.
I thought so.
Look out.
What's going on?
It is a good looking
Rockstar
game
needed
though.
to go all out in order to not only top the original Red Dead Redemption, but also follow up from their most successful game of all time, Grand Theft Auto 5. This resulted in Red Dead Redemption 2 getting the
Great
highest
story,
budget the game
man.
has
It's a
ever
good
received,
story.
with an estimated cost being around $370
Beautiful looking, a huge map.
million.
If you've not played it, I
This
recommend
all
playing
paid
it.
off greatly for the developer, as not only did the title receive multiple game
It's a
of the Year
long
awards,
ass game
but it
though, I will
shipped
just
an
say that.
estimated
It's a long ass
37
game.
million copies. One can only imagine how much a potential Grand Theft Auto 6 will cost.
That's the last thing we need right now, Dutch.
Well, it is what it is.
Well, boys and girls, hopefully you did enjoy the top 20 most expensive video games of all time. If you did, make sure you leave a like, don't forget to subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Let us know if there's any games you feel like they missed out on, like, oh, I thought this game was going to be in there or anything like that, because I thought maybe like Witcher 3 was going to be up there, maybe like an Assassin's Creed game, I don't know why. Was there actually even a Ubisoft game in there? Tom Clancy, stuff like that, like the Division and stuff like that, because that game was good looking, man. But yeah, Gears of War wasn't in there. Quite surprising, a few games without thinking of it weren't in there. So yeah, it's quite surprising. But thank you very much for watching. Have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.